Got another FishTales board set. This one, the MPU had a bit of alkaline damage that I have cleaned up here. Luckily, we were able to save, some of the ICs here on the board. The corrosion didn't quite get to the legs, but I just pulled them to be preemptive and making sure that I got all the alkaline there. Replaced a bunch of 10K resistors and two LM339s, and then a 7400 series chip. We've got a new power filter input capacitor, as well as a new power input header, NV RAM installed here on the MPU, and then a 4.27 volt watchdog. Over here on the driver board, C11, I believe, yeah, C11 was, man, this board, I think this board, it was actually completely blown, had black stuff and everything coming out of the capacitor itself. C5 we go ahead and replace, as well as C4 and C2. I don't think that this C2 had any leakage going on, but that does happen a lot of times here on these driver boards, and so it's best to replace C2 as well whenever you're replacing the or if you're having issues with resets or anything like that, and you're replacing the 5 volt filter cap, it's best to replace C2 there as well, just to keep it from leaking. Anyway, so moving on, we've replaced the 12 volt AC input header, the power output header, the GIN, as well as both GI out, and then also the AC in and the ground input header. The soundboard we have went ahead and recapped, so we've got two 4700 UF capacitors and a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 47 UF capacitors, a little 22 UF capacitor, and we've got a 10 UF tantalum capacitor here as well that we replaced, and then a 100 UF filter capacitor here. And then the Fliptronics board, there's no 100 volt UF capacitor here on this board. There's two different revisions of this Fliptronics too, but we did replace the 100 UF input filter cap. And the DMD driver board, we are not using the high voltage, even though I went ahead and tested everything. The high voltage is working correctly, but we did go ahead and replace the power filter capacitor there on that board. And I don't actually have all my connectors plugged in here, so let's go ahead and do that before we power on. That's everything, so let's go ahead and power it up. And real quick, we've got the matrix dancing, and then one of the probably flasher or whatnot going on the board. I've already got this thing set to free play. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into test report. The time and date not set. And so first we'll go through switches. And so we're just going through testing both rows and columns, moving diagonally through the board, and we'll get the last switch there, as well as the... I always have trouble trying to figure out where these switches are. The corners there. Go ahead and test the coin door switches. And move into, I went backwards, but we'll go ahead and test the flipper coils. And knock my speaker down there. But both of the coils are working correctly. So now we're going back through the correct way and get into solenoid test. Set that to running. And which one of these? these darn headers is not making a connection. Sorry. I'll let that run through again. It looks like Q66. Make sure it's not my header here. Let it run through one more time. If not, okay. So it looks like we've got an issue there with Q66, which we'll take a look at. And go to GI. GI is working correctly. And then to sound test.
I tell you, it was this big. Biggest fish I'd ever seen. Whoa, you got one under, eh? Oh, yeah, that's a keeper. Get out of here. You've mastered deep sea fishing. Up to the top for double jackpot. Double jackpot. Super jackpot. It's a feeding frenzy. Whoa, you're not going to eat that, are you?
Sounds. Back to the lamps and flashers here. What in the world do we got going on here? Good old golly. Alright, so we've got a whole entire, what is it, column 6? And then row 6 that is not working. It kind of looks like 5 is a bit brighter than the others, but that just may be a that may be just something to do with the other row and column not working. But looks like we've got a couple of things to look at still here. And moving into display test. Kind of popped up there for a second, but we just want to see that message there. And we've already done the flipper test. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at why was that Q66 was not firing, as well as why we do not have rows 6 and column 6. And we'll get this back on the bench. And so with the MPU here, the was it U12? U12 was already socketed, and it had a jumper that was ran, and so obviously when a baiting alkaline, especially as condensed as it was here, what you run into oftentimes is, you know, what little sliver was left of a trace is no longer, you know, there, obviously due to abating the alkaline. And so that's exactly what it was. We had no data 5 coming into the driver board here, and so here we are with all of the lamps working correctly. And I did also swap out the TIP 102 here at Q86, which looks like somebody had swapped one out before. I'm not sure if they just used maybe a used part or something there, but that part was failing. That's why you're getting the, you know, extra illumination there with row 5. And let's go into sorry. Why am I not seeing coil test? Solenoid test. That's why, because I was looking for the wrong my goodness, if I can. Here we are. And Q86, which, as you just saw, and we'll go back to it. I cannot, for the life of me, get these buttons figured out. Okay, go back into solenoid test. And right now it's on repeat, so we'll go to Q86 to show that it is firing now. So there's that, and like I said, it was the data signal that was not making it onto the to the driver board here. And so here's all the lamps, and it started to look like it was a little bit brighter, but that's due to the camera. As you can see, it just but in person all of these are, you know, the exact same brightness. It's so hard to pick up LEDs through the camera. But anyways, there we are 100% good to go. Thank you so much.